So we go to paper 1 of May, June 2019. First question, please read.
What would an economist regard as an example of the factor of production capital?
When we talk about capital is the wealth used in producing other wealth. So based on the information we have, they said an individual's purchase of stock and shares, it can be capital. Borrowing by a firm to pay for electricity, that's expenses. It's liability, so it's not capital. The building by a firm of a new factory, that's the capital because you can use the factory to produce your products. So the answer is C. Is it clear?
Okay.
Question 2.
The diagram shows a prediction possibility curve, PPC. Why is the curve usually down like this?
Yeah, the curve is drawn this way because you have two products available. Either you produce goods or services. So that means there's always going to be opportunity cost.
Okay.
So if you are producing more of goods, you produce less of services. If you're producing more of services, you produce less of goods. So there's always an opportunity cost. So the answer is B.
Okay, we go for 3. In recent years, more golf courses which use large quantities of water have opened in China. What might be the opportunity cost of this?
So that means they are using farmland for golf. So if there are more golf courses, it would have meant that a lot of farmland would have been lost.
So it's B.
The answer is B.
Okay. We go for 4, which situation indicates a mixed economy.
So when I talk about a mixed economy, it means there's the combination of the private sectors and the public sectors. So there's privatization and nationalization. Both government and individuals, firms are working together. That's a mixed economy. So resources are allocated through the government and at the same time, the private individuals or firms. So the answer is services are provided by both private and public sectors. C. 4. Question 5.
What causes market failure?
Market failure is social cost exceeding social benefits. So they say what could cause a market failure? A government provision of services. If government is able to provide services, it reduces market failure. Social cost equal private cost. If social cost equals private cost, then there's no market failure there. The sense of external benefits, yes. Because if there's no external benefits, that is when we think about, because there's externalities. Externalities can be negative externalities or positive externalities. So whenever we talk about negative externalities, it's because we are unable to have positive externalities. So because there is always going to be, because normally there should be what we call third-party benefits, which is the same as external benefits. So if we don't have it, then we talk about market failure. So because there's existence of external benefit in whatever we produce, in whatever firms produces, in whatever individual produces, in whatever government produces, it should be beneficial to the third party. So if it is not beneficial to the third party, it becomes a market failure. So the answer is C. Is it clear?
Number 6. A newspaper reported that the world market of coffee has returned to equilibrium.
You return to equilibrium. Okay?
Which situation supports the statement?
First, what is equilibrium? Equilibrium is agreement between the quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So here they said the newspaper reported that the world market for coffee has returned to equilibrium. It means supply matches demand. That is equilibrium. So we check. The sequence of poor harvest resulted in shortage. If there's shortage, there's no equilibrium. Decreased transport costs led to a surplus of supplies. Surplus is not equilibrium. Farmers match demand by planting more coffee bushes. That's the answer C. It means that farmers match demand by planting more coffees. Planting more coffees means supply of coffee equals to the demand of for customers. So the answer is C. Is it clear?
7. The table shows the demand schedule for different prices. The current market price for the good is $10. Following a 20% increase in price, what will be the change in the quantity demanded? So
20% increase means 100 plus 20. That's 120 over 100 multiplied by 10. So that gives us 12. So if it is 12, it is 120 quantity demanded. Is it clear? So that's C.
Go for A. Carlos has been offered a new job with a large multinational company. He's undecided whether to accept the position. What is a non-wage factor he might consider?
So when you talk about non-wage factor, it means it is not about finance. It is not monetary. So when you talk about bonus payment, it is money. When you talk about holiday entitlement, yes. Let's check the other one. Overtime rate. If you are paying overtime, that means you are making payments. I'm getting paid based on the hours of I worked that is not official. It's a payment. Salary level, it's a payment. So the only non-payment here is holiday entitlement. Is it clear?
Very clear.
Number 9.
Unlike the UK, you ask a significant.
Unlike the UK, okay.
A significant proportion of the shares in the stock exchanges of China and Russia are state-owned enterprises. Which judgment about China and Russia can be made from this information?
They said UK and US, a similar proportion of their shares on the stock exchange in China and Russia are state-owned enterprise. So what are they trying to say? They said unlike the UK and US. That means the UK and the US have their stocks and shares owned by private individuals or firms. So if they have said this, they are trying to let us to know the difference between the economic sector of Russia, China, and UK, US. So the answer is D, their type of economic system. So that means UK and US has Russia and China. They have what we call, what do we call that? Mixed economy. We have plan. They have planned economy. So Russia, China use planned economic system, while UK and US might be using mixed economy. Okay. So it's economy, their economic system. So question 10.
What is the most important factor that affects how much your family saves?
So the amount of money you save will be based on your income level. The amount of, not only family, the amount of money an individual could save, the amount of money anyone could save will be based on the level of income. So let's check the options. They said the income of the family, the level of taxation, the rate of inflation, the reliability of banks. So the answer is A, the income level of the family. Is it clear?
11, the table shows the change in real incomes for a number of occupators between 1985 and 2015. What can be concluded from the table?
Yeah, look at the table. We have occupations like doctors. Their change in income is 153, lawyers 114, accountants 60, bricklayers 37, bus and coach drivers 19, fork light lift truck drivers -5. So they said, what can be concluded from the table? All occupations were better off in 2015 and 1985. No. Driver in the lowest wages in 2015. No, we don't even know their wages. It's just about the percentage increase, so, or decrease. We don't know their wages. Doctors have earned more than lawyers since 1985. We wouldn't know. Professional receives higher percentage increase in income than manual workers. Yes, the answer is D. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, they have high wage increase than manual workers such as bricklayers, bus and coach drivers, lift truck drivers. So the answer is D. Question 12.
A large bakery buys a flour mill. Which form of integration is this?
This is vertical integration because this is integration that occurs at different level of production. At different level of production. So it's vertical. But because a large bakery, is closer to the consumers. The flour mill is production. So that means the bakery is going back. So that's vertical backwards. Is it clear?
13. Why is the energy supply industry dominated by very large firms in many economies?
The energy supply industry is dominated by very large firms because they are capital intensive, and it is only large firms that have that financial capability to invest on such projects. So high fiscal cost. So the answer is B. Yeah.
Okay. The Table 14, the diagram shows the fixed cost, variable cost, and total cost of the firm. Which distance represents the firm's fixed cost?
Yeah, fixed cost is at, though fixed cost is at Y, that's the curve for fixed cost is straight, but the distance between it is W and X. So the answer is A.
15, an entrepreneur runs a workshop for $200,000 to make plastic boxes. In the first year of operation, he spent $70,000 on materials, employs 10 production workers paid by the amount produced, piece rate, a total cost of $80,000, and buys 2 delivery vehicles for $10,000 each. What are his total variable costs?
So here, let me just put each items. Let me indicate, or let me explain each item here. A workshop is bought, that is fixed. It's a fixed asset, which is fixed cost. Then he spends $70,000 on materials. Materials are variable because the more materials you buy, the more production you could make. So materials is a variable cost, which is 70,000. It employs 10 production workers paid by the amount produced. That's piece rate. When we talk about piece rate, it means you paid workers based on the quantities they produced. So that is variable also. 10,000 plus 70,000, that's 80,000 there for variables. Then we have a total cost of 80,000 for 2 delivery vehicles now. So that's not a variable cost. So our variable cost here is, let's see, we have the first year it spends 70,000, which is on material, that's a variable cost. Then we spend 70,000, then piece with a total cost of 80,000. That's 70,000 plus 80,000. 150,000. So the variable cost is 150,000 P. Amount paid for workers, which is not salary here, it is wages. Plus the cost of raw material, which is also another variable cost, making 150,000. So the answer is B, 15. Question 16.
The government increases the rate of income tax in order to pay for extra transfer payments, including cash benefits to the poor. What must occur as a result of this?
So if government has increased rate of income tax, government might have done this, and this kind of tax could be progressive. So if it is progressive, government could increase progressive tax to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. That means government wants to redistribute income. So if government is doing that, it means that government wants to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. So the answer should be A. It changes the distribution of income. Yeah, because government is trying to redistribute income.
For 17,
yeah.
The standard rate for value-added tax is 20% in the country. Different consumers buying the same product have to pay the same amount of tax.
That is regressive because it means a very rich person will pay the same amount of tax a very poor person will pay in the cost of buying the product.
Yeah.
Because value-added tax is ad valorem tax. It's a tax on consumption. It's an indirect tax.
Yeah. The diagram shows the demand curve B and supply curve S for a good. The government introduces a subsidy to encourage production. What will be the total cost of the subsidy to the government?
Okay, here, based on the graph we're looking at, consumers will be able to buy more when the price is less at 20. Producers will be willing to sell more when the price is high at 30. So for government to introduce subsidy, government have to pay for the cost of both consumers and suppliers. So the price is 50. The cost of subsidy will be $50. Clear?
Okay.
Number 19.
Which statement about interest rate changes is accurate? A fall in interest rates will always increase inflation. A rise in interest rates might increase cost-push inflation. A rise in internet rates will raise
interest rates will raise the level of investment in the country. Interest rate changes have no impact on the level of production. It has. D is not the option. A rise in interest rate will raise the level of investment in the country. No, because firms will not be able to invest as the cost of investment will be high. They won't be able to take money from the bank. A rise in interest rate may increase cost-push inflation. I think yes. Yes. Why? Because a rise in interest rate will mean that the cost of borrowing will increase. And if the cost of borrowing increases, it links to the cost of production. So as a result, firms would want to increase their prices, leading to cost-push inflation. So the answer is B.
Funny. In Uganda, the rate of inflation fell from 5% in 2014 to 2% in 2015. Which conclusion can be drawn from this information?
No, the prices were higher in 2015 than in 2014
Yes,
because it's
okay.
positive inflation.
Mhm.
If it is negative, then the price falls.
Yeah.
So this is disinflation.
Mhm.
We call it disinflation.
21. What would not increase the human development and tax HDI of a country? An increase in the level of car ownership, an increase in life expectancy
Expectancy,
at birth, a rise in the GDP per head, a rise in the number of years of schooling.
rise in the number of that's when we talk about the level of academics, the rate of literacy is part of Human Development Index. When we talk about GDP per head, we're talking about the GDP divided by the total population, which is part of Human Development Index.
Mhm.
When we talk about the life expectancy, it's part of Human Development Index because it's talking about health,
Okay.
the health of the people. So an increase in the level of car ownership doesn't have anything to do with Human Development Index.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Very clear. 20.
So the answer is A, 22.
A country experiencing a period of full employment, what is most likely to lead to an increase in demand for inflation? An increase in government funding, an increase in inputs, an increase in income tax rates, an increase in sales tax.
Demand pull inflation will be as a result of increasing spending by consumers or government. So if we are able to, full employment will mean that everybody has a job. So as a result, the income level in that economy would rise, meaning that the purchasing power of individuals will increase, meaning we can buy so much. Buying so much will mean that our demand for products will rise. As a result, firms will increase the products, the price of the product, because the products will be less, the products will be scarce in the market. Firms would want to maximize profits. As a result, they reduce the supply in the market, leading to demand pull inflation. So the answer is A. So increasing government spending would increase demand pull inflation. Increasing individual household spending would also lead to demand pull inflation. Clear?
23. The table shows the percentage change from 2015 to 2016 in gross domestic product GDP and consumer prices for selected countries. Which country was suffering from economic recession and inflation?
When you are suffering from economic recession and inflation, we call it stagflation. Stagflation. That's stagflation. That's AS level. Yeah, when you suffer from both.
Okay.
So a country that is witnessing a fall in its GDP and at the same time a rise in inflation, it's stagflation.
Okay.
But a country that after recession, it's able to increase its GDP after or during recession, we call it reflation. Reflation.
Okay.
So put that in mind. It's A level anyway.
Yeah.
So here, based on what we see, Brazil is having a negative GDP, and having a negative GDP is recession. That means a decline in economic activity, a decline in economic growth. That's a negative GDP, recession.
Okay.
Then it's having a higher consumer price of 8.3.
Okay.
So that's stagflation. So Brazil is the answer, 23. B.
24. Which policies most likely reduce relative poverty?
What is relative poverty? Relative poverty means that some group of people have fewer goods, fewer incomes, fewer services than others within an economy. That's relative poverty. But absolute poverty means people cannot afford the basic needs like food, clothing, and shelter. And they cannot even afford to spend $1.5 in a day. That's absolute poverty, according to the United Nations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which policy would reduce relative poverty? Income tax rate less progressive. If it is less progressive, it will increase poverty. Reduce benefit payment. If you are reducing benefit payment, it means people will not be able to have income to buy things. So this will lead to poverty. Reduce the minimum wage. If you are reducing the minimum wage, it means you are reducing the income level of an economy. It will lead to poverty. Reduce the rate of sales tax. Yes, because when you are able to reduce this income when you are able to reduce sales tax, it means goods becomes affordable. Services becomes affordable for people. So fewer people will be able to buy.
Okay.
It's D.
C.
Yeah.
Okay. Reduce the rate of sales tax.
Yeah. That means goods becomes affordable for people. 25.
Given the following information, which country is most likely to have the highest standard of living? Bangladesh.
The birth rate, the death rate, life expectancy, infant mortality. Bangladesh has the birth rate, the lowest birth rate. Let's just check. They want the best at the highest standard of living, right?
Yeah.
So for the highest standard of living, it must have a low birth rate, it must have a low death rate, it must have high standard of life expectancy, it must have a low infant mortality. So based on what we have here, Brunei has the lowest birth rate, it has the lowest death rate, it has the highest life expectancy, it has the lowest infant mortality rate. So the answer is D. It has a very good living standard. 26.
In a country, birth rate increased, but the population decreased, what could have happened to other factors to cause this?
So if in a country the birth rate increased, but the population decreases, it means the death rate is increasing in such country, and at the same time, the migration, that means emigration or immigration, does not change significantly.
Okay.
So the answer should be no change in migration, but the death rate rose. Yes. C. Is it clear?
Yeah.
27.
The U.S. government decides to reduce the size of the quota and get advice from China. What is likely to happen?
So if quota means you are quantifying the number of imports that could come into the US. So if government reduces the quota, it means less goods from China will come into the US. So there will be less of the goods imported into the US. D.
D. Okay.
28.
What is the most accurate definition of foreign exchange rate?
So when you talk about the foreign exchange rate, it is the value of a country's currency expressed in terms of other currencies. So the answer is D.
In 2013, the European Union
levied
a
48%
tariff on low-priced Chinese solar panels because the low price was the result of subsidies from the Chinese government. Which argument for
protectionism
was the EU using?
Imagine, normally, importation from Chinese, like solar panels are supposed to be expensive, but there seems to be less expensive here. So if imports becomes less expensive than domestic products, then we call it dumping. Dumping means the prices of imported products are more cheaper than domestic products. Just imagine when you have to buy something, maybe they produce laptop here and you have to import laptop from Turkey down here. And the price of imported laptops from Turkey is quite cheaper than the domestic one produced here. So that we call it dumping. So if the EU is levying 48% importation tax on low price Chinese solar panels, it means they want to prevent dumping. So the answer is the anti-dumping argument.
Okay.
Is it clear? 29 is A.
30. A large amount of agricultural products in a country were damaged by floods. What is likely to have happened to the price of agricultural products and the value of imports of agricultural products?
So before I go down, we here they said floods. So one of the factors that reduces supply or that affects supply is bad weather condition, which could be as a result of flood. Okay, so with flood, it means agricultural products will be short in the market. That means what happens when there is shortage of supply? Prices will rise. So price of products will rise. And at the same time, it won't be enough in terms of demand. So they would need to import more. So that means the price of products will rise and the volume of imports will also rise. So the answer is D. Is it clear? So that's all about paper 1. Yeah.